everybody, I'm Miss Aline, and I want to thank you for joining us again for Kids Corner on Armstrong Cable, channels 20 and 100. Today we're at Poland Union Elementary School, and it is all about cherries and cherry blossoms and cherry trees and cherry pies. We've got two fun stories and a very cool, beautiful cherry blossom art project. So stay tuned for all that and more. Is everybody ready to see what we've got going on today for Kids Corner? Yeah. Me too. I'm Miss Aline, and today it's all about cherries and cherry blossoms and cherry trees. Yeah, it's kind of confusing, isn't it? It all sounds the same, doesn't it? But it's not quite the same, but almost. So we're going to learn all about that with our two fun stories and a very cool surprise art project. So, can anyone tell me, have you ever eaten cherries? Me too. Do cherries have seeds like oranges in them? Kinda. Does anybody know what that thing that's the seed in the middle of the cherry is called? How about you right there? What? Not quite, almost. How about you right here? A pit, that's right. So, do you eat the pit? Somebody raise your hand. Tell me, like, what do you do with the pit? Can you chew on that? Is it soft? You right here.
You throw it away.
You kind of have to throw those away, or you save them and you plant them, but you can't eat those. They're very hard, right? Right. So, just like all other trees and plants and flowers, they have a seed. And cherries are very special because they are not grown everywhere, are they? Did you know that? They're not very easy to grow everywhere. They have to have certain temperatures, and certain places have better temperatures than others. There are lots of different types of cherry-ish trees. They're called cherry trees of one sort or another, but not all of them make cherries that you would want to eat. Some of them are called flowering cherry trees, and they have beautiful, beautiful flower blossoms on them. Has anybody ever heard of cherry blossoms? Has anybody ever seen cherry blossom trees? There's one near your house? Oh, okay. In Washington, D.C., where our nation's capital is, there's lots and lots and lots of cherry blossom trees there. But they weren't always there. Those don't really grow there naturally. They got brought in from another country. So we're going to learn all about that. And I've got some pictures to show you guys. So everybody's seen these guys, right? Cherries, yummy, yummy cherries. And we get lots of different types of juices and lots of different types of candies that are flavored with cherry or cherry flavored besides the real fruit, right? And it's all pretty yummy, but it all comes from trees like these. And these are cherry trees. Pretty nice, huh? Who would like to go pick some cherries one day? When I was little, we actually did go pick cherries. My grandfather and my grandmother would take us to go pick cherries. I lived in California though, so it's a little different. Picking cherries is not all that easy either. It gets a little tiring after a while. But now, these also are a type of cherry tree, but these are called cherry blossoms. Have you ever seen these before? Aren't they beautiful? So, okay, I have another question for you guys. Trees with flowers like these, do they grow all the time, the flowers? When do flower blossoms usually come on trees? Somebody I haven't called on yet. You right here. Nice and loud.
When it's like the end of the winter.
That's right. Does anybody know what that season usually is? You right here. Springtime is when most flowering trees flower and blossom. Everybody knows what a blossom is, right? Okay. And these are some of those beautiful cherry blossoms that are in Washington, D.C. So maybe one day, if you ever take a trip there, you can go during the springtime and see the cherry blossoms, and this is what they look like close up. Pretty, huh? So, and I've heard they smell really pretty. And in fact, lots of perfumes are made to smell like cherry blossoms, or they take some of the scent from cherry blossoms and put them into perfumes so that they smell like cherry blossoms because they smell so lovely. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the differences. And like I said, when you have a cherry blossom tree, those cherries are not very tasty if they come at all. They're kind of bitter, and in fact, I've been told that mostly only birds eat them. So if they come, the birds like them a lot, but if you tried to eat them, you wouldn't like them so much. But has anybody ever had cherry pie? Me too. Do you like cherry pie? Me too. So our first story is about the kind of cherries you eat, and it is called Pie in the Sky by Lois Ehlert. I've never seen pies growing on trees. Wouldn't that be something? Have you ever seen a pie growing on a tree? No. Me either, but that would be kind of cool if there were peach pies and apple pies that actually just grew on the trees, wouldn't it? Cut a lot of work out. I see green grass, red ladybugs, brown bark, and a blue-green dragonfly, but no pie. This tree was here when we moved in. Dad says it's a pie tree. But we just said we've never heard of pies growing on trees, right? So what do they mean? Let's find out. Dad showed me buds on our tree today. He says that's a good sign, but we won't know till summer if we'll get pie. Winter's finally over. Sweet spring is here at last. Buds we saw last fall are bursting into bloom. I see green leaves, white blossoms, yellow pollen dust, blue eggs in a brown nest, yellow honeybees, and black stripes on a yellow butterfly, but no pie. But now a damp wind is blowing and all the flowering petals are falling down like rain. I see white petals, dark gray tails, brown branches, and gray rain sky, but no pie. You know what? I think something's finally growing on that tree of ours. What do you think it's going to be? You think it's going to be a pie? Let's find out. I hear somebody said cherries and somebody said a pie. So let's find out which one is right. The birds sure sound excited. I wonder what's going on. Do you think maybe the birds know what's going on? I see a robin's rusty red breast and white speckled throat, a gray catbird with a brown crown and tail, and purple violet clouds in a pink and orange sky, but still no pie. Uh-oh, now I see brown cherry pits, red wingtips on cedar waxwings, and white rings around robin's black eyes. But, do we see a pie? No pie. It's a cherry feast. I think those birds like those cherries. I see orange-breasted orioles, black spots and tips on butterfly wings, red ripe cherries, and bright blue sky, but no pie. Goodness, where is that pie? But hey, raccoon, save some for us. I see a raccoon's black mask, black toes, black nose and eyes, and lime green glow of fireflies, but no pies. At last, Dad says it's time for us to pick our cherries. I see gray wings, a black and orange tail, a yellow beak, a silver gray pail, and a blue fly. Still, no pie. We're going to make a pie. So I guess the pies don't actually grow on trees, but what does? Cherries. And they're going to use the cherries to make what? A pie. First, we wash the cherries. We squeeze out all the pits and save the juice. Then we put the cherries in a bowl. We add the juice, flour, sugar, and cinnamon and stir it with a spoon. And next, we mix the pie crust dough. We add the top crust, put the pie in the oven, and we press the crust around and make the crust all pretty. And then we stick it into the oven for about 35 to 45 minutes, and we bake it until it gets brown. And we wait for it to bake. And now, Dad cuts the pie. He puts a piece on each plate. Wow, that was the best pie I've ever eaten. I wonder if the birds would like it. You think the birds would like the pie? Maybe, but they probably would just like the cherries even better by themselves. And that is the end of our pie in the sky story. Did you guys like that? Yeah. Pretty cool, huh? So we have learned all about making cherry pie, but now we're going to talk a little bit about our other cherries, and those are cherry blossoms. So our next story is called Eliza's Cherry Trees, Japan's Gift to America. Uh-oh. Now I have one more question about our cherries and our cherry pie before we go to our cherry blossoms. When you plant something, does it pop up with blossoms immediately? Do you have to wait? Does it pop up with fruit immediately? No. Do you have to wait? Yeah. Well, guess what? Cherry trees, after they're planted, take about 3 to 5 years before they even start making any fruit. So that's a long wait for some cherries, huh? But it sure is yummy when they come. Sometimes a person with a good idea can make a big difference. Eliza Sidemore was one of those people. She changed America's capital, Washington, D.C. Eliza and her brother grew up in her mother's boarding house in Washington. One of Eliza's best subjects at school was geography. She liked to study the world and all of the countries in it, and that's what geography is. Eliza loved Washington, but she wanted to visit real places on her map. Eliza wanted to see the world. In those days, When Eliza was a teenager, her mother took her to Europe, and she saw fascinating new places. In 1873, Eliza went away to college. She liked writing and she was good at it. She was starting to feel grown up and she liked being independent. And she decided that she wanted to continue traveling and seeing the world. So she decided she was going to find a way. After college, Eliza started writing articles for a newspaper, and she worked hard and made pretty good money. So soon, Eliza saved up enough money to pay for some of her travels. When she was 26 years old, Eliza bought tickets to faraway Alaska. Few tourists had ever been there. Eliza wrote reports for the newspaper back home. She loved sharing the fascinating things that she saw. So when Eliza went back to Washington, it wasn't long before she started thinking about traveling again. And she decided to take her next trip to Japan. In Japan, she rode on trains, carriages, and bumpy rickshaws. And a rickshaw, if you look, is a pretty cool thing. It's like a little carriage that somebody pulls for you. She especially loved the Japanese gardens. Eliza's favorite plants by far were the Japanese cherry trees. Eliza called them the most beautiful thing in the world. Thousands of trees were planted in parks and along riverbanks. When they blossomed, the trees became clouds of pink blossoms. As the petals drifted down, it was like pink snowfall. The Japanese people loved the cherry trees as their national symbol. Crowds gathered for picnics under the trees, and people wrote poems and painted pictures to honor those sakura, and that's what they called them. So when Eliza came back home, she wrote a book about Japan too. And she wanted to share all of those beautiful things that she had seen in Japan with people, so she put those in the book. And then she started thinking that she wanted Washington, D.C. to look just as beautiful as Japan did. So she thought about the muddy land from a recent construction project, and the swampy area around the riverbank where she was. And then she thought to herself, that's what Washington needs. So Eliza told a man in charge of the Washington parks about the beautiful cherry trees. And she told him about her plan to plant hundreds of cherry trees down by the water. At first, he said no. He believed that they didn't need any different kind of tree in Washington. But Eliza knew that sometimes when you have a good idea, you have to keep trying. So she waited. And when the new parks man was hired, she told him about her good idea, but he said no too. Eliza kept traveling, and she met with other people. And soon, Eliza met with more people, and she told them about her idea. She also became a photographer, and not many women did that back then. She took pictures for the Smithsonian Institution, and she recorded people and places that Americans had never seen. Because remember, back then, people couldn't travel. So all the things that you know about that are all over the world, they didn't really know about those back then because they'd never seen them. There was no way to see them because people hadn't even gone there and taken pictures. In 1909, William Howard Taft had just been elected president, and Eliza had another good idea. She knew that sometimes people in politics could get things done. So she wrote a letter to the president's wife, Mrs. Taft, and Eliza told her about her plan to make Washington more beautiful with the lovely cherry trees. And she was afraid the answer would be no again, but Miss Taft loved the idea. And with the help of Mr. Takamine, a generous Japanese scientist, they had the trees sent from Japan. Everyone was happily waiting for the trees, and Eliza imagined how beautiful pink clouds of blossoms would be soon blooming in Washington. In January of 1910, 2,000 cherry trees arrived. They were never given such a gift from Tokyo or Japan before. Somebody didn't like the idea of these new trees coming in. So they wanted to burn all the trees up because they were afraid that maybe they would bring in new bugs or something like that that we weren't used to here. But didn't we say that there's lots of trees in Washington? The cherry trees, the cherry blossoms. Didn't we see a picture of it? So what do you think happened? Do you think he burned all the trees up? Do you think she got her idea done? So the new trees were carefully grown in Japan, and in March of 1912, 3,000 new trees arrived. They were inspected and declared healthy. They had a ceremony and they were planted and they bloomed all over Washington. And as she grew older, Eliza remembered all the places she had visited, and she believed that the countries in the world could live together in peace. She spent her later years working for that, and she knew that sometimes when you have a good idea, you just have to keep trying for a long time. Eliza was very happy that her lovely Japanese cherry trees were in Washington, D.C. and became the international symbol of peace and friendship. So this was the true story of how Eliza brought all those cherry trees and got them planted in Washington, D.C. And if you remember, that's what it looks like now. Pretty beautiful, huh? Are we glad that she got her good idea done? Yes. All right, guys, did you like that story too? Yes. Me too. But guess what? We're going to make our own cherry blossom trees. They're not real cherry blossom trees, but there are our beautiful art project cherry blossom trees. Are you guys ready? Yes. All right, let's go. I'm going to take my brown paint and I'm going to dip my paintbrush into it, and what we're going to do with that is make our tree trunk. So you're going to start at the bottom of your page and you're going to go up. So everybody make a line like that and go up. And then maybe do a second one on the other side of that and go up. You're going to take it and you're going to go out like that a little bit and make a branch, and then maybe make another branch like that. You want to take your glue, turn it upside down, and you want to make a little bit of a squiggle design at the top of your branches, kind of like that. Most of the cherry blossoms are light pink, right? Yeah. So you're going to take most of your light pink ones, and then every once in a while you can throw in a dark pink one, but you'll take it and you'll put it on your finger like this, and then you will kind of just fold it around your finger. So you're going to put your finger in the middle of the square, I'll show you again. See the middle of the square? Stick your finger right in the middle and then just kind of gently wrap it around your finger. Hey everybody, I'm Miss Aline and I hope you guys have had a lot of fun learning about cherries, cherry trees, cherry blossoms, and everything in between. Don't forget about cherry pie, yum. Until next time, we're here at Poland Union Elementary School and we say goodbye. Bye.